There are voices in this world that do not simply sing, they thunder. They cry. They cut through time and bury themselves in the marrow of generations. And now, one of those voices has been silenced. Ozzy Osbourne, the immortal Prince of Darkness, has departed this world. On a quiet Tuesday morning, in the very city where his legend began, Birmingham, England, the same cobblestone streets that once echoed his teenage footsteps now mourn his final breath. 76 years after he first arrived, John Michael Osborne has returned home. The song, "Mama, I'm Coming Home," will now forever feel different. Not just a ballad, not just a performance, it is now a parting prayer. A swan song for a man who lived loudly, fearlessly, chaotically, and beautifully. Ozzy was never just a musician. He was a movement, a force, a sound that rattled the walls of conformity and kicked down the gates of genre. He didn't fit in, he carved his own shape and made the world bend to it. From the factories of Birmingham to the halls of global arenas, he transformed his pain into power. His demons into anthems. His chaos into legacy. As the lead singer of Black Sabbath, he helped birth heavy metal. Not helped, he birthed it. He and his bandmates took the sounds of an angry, industrial England and gave it teeth, gave it scream, gave it soul. And what a scream it was. It was raw. It was unfiltered. It was filled with rage and fear and power and sorrow. It was the sound of the working class. It was the voice of rebellion. It was a war cry from the shadows. Ozzy didn't just sing about darkness, he made it beautiful. In every chord of Paranoid, every growl in Iron Man, every haunting echo of War Pigs, there was Ozzy. Bleeding, shouting, surviving. And when Black Sabbath's storm calmed, his solo voyage only grew louder. With songs like Crazy Train and Mr. Crowley, Ozzy pushed harder. He didn't just ride the rails of heavy metal, he laid them. He didn't walk the edge, he danced on it, laughed at it, dared it to push him off. And time and again, he survived. He survived addiction. He survived fame. He survived ridicule, reinvention, and every label thrown at him. They called him mad. He wore it proudly. They called him evil. He smiled back with a wink. Because Ozzy knew the truth, the world fears what it can't control. And you could never, ever control Ozzy. In a world that tried to cage every artist, Ozzy Osbourne smashed the locks. He lived with intensity, performed with fury, and yet always kept a strange, tender heart beneath the chaos. His love for his fans was real. His family, his anchor. His music, his language. And when he sang, "Mama, I'm Coming Home," it wasn't just a tribute to his wife Sharon. It was a glimpse into a soul that, beneath the tattoos and the fire and the spectacle, longed for peace. He didn't just perform music. He became it. He etched his presence into 5 decades of sonic history. He earned 5 Grammys. He sold millions of records. He was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, not just as a musician, but as a myth. And still, none of that could ever fully explain what Ozzy meant. Because Ozzy wasn't just heard, he was felt. He was the soundtrack to rebellion. The anthem to survival. The lullaby for the misunderstood. He was chaos with a heart. Darkness with a grin. The end of silence for those who never fit in. And now, after decades of roaring on stages, he rests. Just weeks ago, he stood again with his brothers from Black Sabbath. A final reunion. A final roar. A final gift. And how poetic that it was in England, the land where it all began. Ozzy returned to the soil that raised him. To the skies that once echoed his first songs. To the streets that gave birth to heavy metal. Birmingham doesn't just lose a son today. The world loses a legend. The devil may have had his due, but Ozzy Osbourne always had the last laugh. He was the bat-biting madman. The reality TV icon. The walking contradiction. And yet, behind all the spectacle, there was always a man chasing freedom. Chasing peace. Chasing a home. And maybe now, at last, he's found it. Let the guitars wail. Let the drums thunder. Let the black coats rise. Because the Prince of Darkness is no longer with us. But his shadow will never fade. His voice will never fall silent. His fire will never die. Ozzy Osbourne is gone, but he will never leave. He is now part of every scream in the dark. Every note in the night. Every soul that found comfort in being different. And so we say goodbye, not in silence, but in sound. Not in mourning, but in music. Not in grief, but in gratitude. Thank you, Ozzy. For everything. For the madness. For the mayhem. For the music. Rest now. The stage is dark, but your legend blazes on.